Good morning, welcome back to the channel. It's What a Load of Bull, episode 39. It's actually been ages since I've done a video and I'm really sorry on that. I've actually done started quite a few episode 39s and never finished filming it, so I'm going to catch you up on a few of those little projects which I didn't finish filming, but I'm sure you want to know because I've done some cool stuff. Today I'm going to focus on, apart from bringing you up to speed, converting these dials to read in miles per hour. So I've got this replacement dial kit, background kit. It came from Lockwood International. There's their details there. I'll put a link in the description as well. This is actually meant for a V35 Skyline, and there are some very subtle differences in each display. I actually really like the yellow, that it has a nice ECU master theme, I think, so I'm happy with that, but some of the illuminations are a little different. I'll go into those in a little bit more detail in a minute. So in order to do the job, I think I'm just going to need a Phillips screwdriver, 10mm socket. I've got some trim tools and I might need a heat gun as well. I'm gonna start by taking off the steering wheel bit and just keep removing bits of dash until I can get to the whole unit. So before I get into that, let's go and have a look in the engine bay and I'll show you what I've been wrapping up. Okay, so engine bay update. LPG is done and it runs really good. I've got the regulator down there, that red anodized thing. Managed to get the injectors pretty well stashed, mainly thanks to the plenum spacer. I'm still not sold on whether that works for temperature or not. In theory it should, but I just don't know whether it does. But it does gain me quite a good distance, or well, about 10mm, which helps with stashing the injectors in there. So that's all running really good. ECU is where the old one was, but I've managed to put all the harness behind in like the inner firewall, so there's less cables and stuff around here, and yeah, runs really good. I'm impressed with the Stag software, the new one. There's been a couple of software updates since I've been using it as well, which I really like, because the BRC stuff that hadn't been updated for years. I've also now got stage injection going, so there's a switched input which comes from the solenoid that gets picked up by the EMU black, and then that swaps fuel tables. So then I run VE table 2, and then inside this software I've got it set so that it then allows petrol to kick in over about 5,000 revs. Needs fine tuning, but the principle is there. I've got 12 injectors of fuel if I need it. The other big advancement is the fuel pressure regulator. That has solved all the problems which I was having with unstable fuel pressure. The OEM system is a bit of an odd one. You've got these two pipes here, and where they originally go, you've got two diaphragm type things, one on one end of the fuel rail and one on the other end of the fuel rail. The way that it comes, the fuel comes from the tank, it goes into the first one of those, goes round, comes out of the other one, and then it goes into a fixed regulator, like a fixed reducer. So these two with little diaphragms, these are dampeners, whereas the one which is tucked away in the corner down there is the actual regulator. Because the way that Nissan did this was, originally it had a variable voltage fuel pump. So when they wanted more fuel pressure, they demanded more volts, or they sent more volts to the pump to increase that pressure. Not a true boost reference system like you would expect to see. So how have I done it? I've kept the incoming, so I did all that in the wrong direction. It comes in on this side, round and out that side. So I've kept the one on that side as the dampener, as the incoming dampener. The one exiting the rail doesn't have a vac line connected to it anymore, so that's just being passive, that's just going with it. I've removed the original regulator which was down there, and like I said, that doesn't have a boost reference, it's just a larger like flow reducer type thing. Got that completely out of the chain, and then I've got this on the return to the tank. On it I've got the fuel pressure sensor. I've got a new connector to go on that. I'm not entirely happy with that, but that would be good when that's done. And then to set base fuel pressure, you remove the vacuum reference from the pressure regulator, get it idling, and then adjust it to your base fuel pressure. So I adjusted it to 3 bar, and then when you're happy with that, from adjusting it there, reading it on the laptop via the sensor, then you reconnect the boost reference again, and it actually drops to about 2.5 bar at idle, and then obviously climbs all the way with boost, like all the way. With the amount of fuel I've got now and what's coming from the LPG, when I'm on full whack, I'm like I said, it's not tuned yet, it needs finalizing, but when I'm going full chat, I'm going as rich as 0.6, so that means that the whole system is super safe, even if it is burning quite a bit of fuel at the moment. One thing, if you've made it this far and you recognise what this is, please let me know. I don't know where it's coming from, so it's odd that it's kind of above, so if you've come across that one, let me know. Cool, right, I'll get back on with doing the cluster. Okay, so back on with the task in hand. Like I said, there are a couple of subtle differences between the Stagea display and what's in the V35 Skyline. The main one, which I'd overlooked, but I'm not too worried about, if I just get the key, is the 4-wheel drive illumination light. So all of the others seem to line up. There's actually some extra ones on here which are irrelevant to this chassis, but the 4-wheel drive light isn't on here. Now there is this VDC off, and that's fairly near, so I'm hoping that might kind of bleed through, and then I just know that when that's on, that means that all-wheel drive's on and not VDC off. What I am going to do is reach out to Lockwood and see whether they want this display to copy, just so that they can then maybe make a M35 Stagea specific one, which will help the community in general, and there's quite a few of those in the UK now, so it might be in their interest to do that. Main reason I'm doing this is I actually found out that it's kind of the law that you need to have miles per hour on your dash in the UK. Those that don't know, the UK is pretty confused in the way that we measure stuff. We use a lot of metric for most things, but speed is still measured in miles per hour. Now, although I've worked out what I need to drive at depending on what each speed limit, by having used Google Maps and working it out via GPS, you need to have miles per hour displayed. So that's the beauty of this thing. All we've got to do is take everything apart. But it means that we're not messing with any electronics. Now, as you know, I like messing with electronics, but for this I would much rather just change the background so that it shows a different speed. So as you can see, it will now have miles per hour in big, and then kilometers an hour small. And I think the main reason why I went for one of these and then not got one from America, because I don't think American ones display kilometers per hour, and then I'm pretty sure to drive in Europe, because one day I might like to drive in Europe, we need to have kilometers per hour as well. So this one should cover both. And like I said, the yellow, although it's not the original colour that has grown on me, matches that yellow as well a little bit. Maybe we'll do some other subtle yellow accents to go with it, and I'll update below what Lockwood say about recreating one for the Stagea. So if not, I'll put a link to that one down there. I have told you that that four-wheel drive light isn't the same, so it's all on you if you go do it, but I think this is a pretty slick way to do it. Cool. Right, let's get started. I need to get to all of this, okay, and I know this thing just pops off. Then there's some Phillips screwdrivers underneath. Sorry about my knees, it's actually warm. I'm wearing shorts for the first time in a while. Yeah, we got some screws here, and I think the more that we take off, the more we can get to this part. And then with that out of the way, then we can get to the dash. I've not actually gone down that far, I don't think. I've had all the underneath off when doing stuff, but not up here, so we'll kind of work it out as we go, and I will let you know what tools I've used to do each step. So yeah, that top piece just pops off, and then the bottom piece has 4 Phillips screws. A couple of them, that one's quite a long one, so use a decent length screwdriver. It was a bit awkward to get off. I twisted the wheel 180 degrees and then kind of shimmied and then just pulled it, and it all kind of dropped off. So it is only those 4 holding it on, and don't forget to disconnect your LED for your immobilizer. Okay, from what I can see, this is attached. There's a screw behind there and one on the other side. You can't get to it though. These stalk modules pop out, but you can't quite pull them out. I'm not taking off the steering wheel. I'm going to do everything I can to avoid that. And what I have found is that the stalk attachments, we'll call them that for now, there's 2 big screws, one on either side there, and another one there. I think if I can get to those, which I can by turning the wheel, I should be able to twist that a little bit and then be able to get to the screws behind, which I need to undo in order to pull this off by the looks of it. So let's try that. This is going to need a very long screwdriver because it's a deep recess to get to the head of the screw. Where is it? There, sorry, in there. And then you've also got the depth of the steering wheel to play with. So I'm going to have to go and grab one out of the tool chest. Okay, turns out that diameter was too small to get a small socket on a bar. I have managed to get a screwdriver in there though and bite onto the head, so a bit conscious so that this might end up scratching the top piece of the wheel, but we'll see how we go. Right, that worked as I'd hoped. These were a bit of a pig to get to, so if you've got a longer screwdriver than this, you will find it a lot easier if you can clear here, but I did manage to get in there. Once you've got a grasp of it, you can kind of pull it away so it doesn't scratch the plastic. But yeah, with the stalk home loose, I can now pull out the stalk, and with the stalk out the way, I can get to that one there, and then there's one on the other side. And at the moment, that's all I can see is actually holding this on. So I'm hoping it's as simple as that, and then we can get to the actual cluster itself. Okay, so still feeling pretty firmly in there. I thought it was all going to pop off. What I have spotted though is a couple of 10 mils. You need to get to them from below, and they mount, by the looks of it, directly to the cluster. So I think with these undone, then perhaps the whole unit might come out, and then you take that off once it's off, because it feels pretty well in there. So I think there's other fastenings inside which you can't get to from the outside, so let's have a look. Okay, so we've got a bit more flex going on, but I have found there's another 10 mil up here, and I'd hazard a guess that there's probably one on the other side. So I'm going to get this one out and then investigate on the other side and let you know where that is. But Yeah, another 10 mil. You can't actually see it, but you can feel it up there. Okay, got it. If you kind of flex the upper bit up, you can get in there with a 10 mil. It's around about here. This feels like the last thing. The whole thing is very movable now, so I think this will let us take out the whole cluster above, and then we'll be able to get into the dash itself. Right, with those last four, that is very free now, and I think it's ready to come out. Now, be careful. There's going to be stuff plugged into the back of this. Obviously we need to power everything that's going on here, but this cluster actually acts as a bit of a CAN hub. So a lot of switches, maybe some sensors go to this and then get streamed via CAN to the ECU and to the trans controller. I know that because when investigating how the automatic shifter works, or the manual control of that, the switch signals actually come up to here and then are processed here and then streamed via CAN. So it's also a good idea just to have a look at the condition of any contacts that we come across. I might give them a clean and with some contact cleaner just to make sure that they're all good. I have had a couple of sporadic CAN codes through Nissan data scan. Anything to do with a U is generally CAN related, but that could well have been how I was messing around and tapping into the existing network anyway. So not entirely sure, but just be aware, don't rip this out haphazardly because there is a loom behind it, and it is a very important loom as well. Alright, that was actually a bit of a mission to unplug the connectors. I had to get out of the car and kind of look through the window to see what I was doing. There's one on this side and one on that side. I'll show you those in a sec. And I did need this just to help me get one of the clips down so that I could shimmy it out. So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like now. And I've just clocked there's another connector which feeds these ones, but other than that we're all good. So yeah, I'll just get that disconnected and then we can take out this whole unit. Okay, here's the back side of that cluster. These are the connectors I was referring to, which are at the top. There's like a tiny clip on the top and then it pulls out. So this one wasn't too bad to do. This one I invoked that trim piece, and then there's another one down here for the mirror controls. And again, I actually needed the mirror piece to that because the clip's just a little bit too small to get your thumb into. So now I need to split the actual cluster from this trim piece, and it looks like it's these two, and then it kind of slots in, I think. Not sure. I'm going to start with those and then see whether I need to undo anything else. Okay, so yeah, you undo those screws on the top, and then there's a clip either side on the bottom. I think push that and it should pop out. Okay, first thing, this is grubby, so before I take it any further apart, I'm going to give it a really good clean. I think this metal thing needs to come off. So this clips onto the rear half and screws onto the front half, and I think this is like the big mechanical clamp to kind of keep it all sealed, I think. Then with that removed, along the outside there's a clear split, and then I think this will kind of come apart in two halves, and with a bit of luck I'll be able to get to the bit that I need. Don't be fooled by the clips on the outer face, because you could take that off, but you're still going to have this big bezel in the way. So it looks to me like you need to split this whole thing in half, and then you'll be able to get to the bit we need to. But yeah, a lot of this is out of reach of or covered up with trim, so that's why it's particularly grubby. So yeah, going to give that once over, and then I might put it in the sun. I can't see any evidence of sealant, but these things are often stuck together with black stuff, so I'm going to put it in the sun to warm up just in case. With a bit of luck it's not that, it is just clipped together, and then we can get the whole thing done a lot sooner. Okay, tabletop time. Right, so I've given it a clean. We've got all the bits of dust out that I didn't want there. There is still some discoloration. I don't know whether you can pick it up on camera. Oh, you can a little bit. I don't know whether it's on the outside or the inside. I have like given it a couple of goes on the outside and it appeared to be alright, and then it's kind of come back. So I think we'll investigate that further when we take it apart. Obviously I don't want to be trying to repair something or clean something on the outside when it's actually on the inside, because that will just make this scratched, and last thing you want is this all hazy. One thing I could try is this stuff, because this is designed for polishing plastic, so yeah, we'll see. I think it might be like condensation marks or something inside. It is 20 years old now and it's probably never been opened before, so I guess we can expect some grime. Anyway, I'm going to leave this in the sun for a little bit, not the clear bit in direct sun, but just to kind of warm it up just in case there is any sealant. I'd rather it kind of got warm naturally like that than getting a heat gun out, which could cause other issues down the line. So yeah, I'll leave this in the sun for a bit and then come back and try and split it. Okay, so it's been warming up in the sun for about an hour. I'm gonna take out these two. I think this whole frame and clip clamp type thing will then come off, and then I should be able to kind of work my way around and do these clips. I've got a couple of flatheads and some trim tools as well to help. I'm going to crack on with that, and I'll let you know if I come across or have to do anything special. So there's 4 along the bottom, and there. Pop them out and it all seems pretty free, which is good. I'm just going to do these ones, I don't want to snap them or anything, so just going to carefully do those, and then it looks like we've got the access we need. Cool, and here they both are. So looks to be like it's the same profile. I was worried it might be slightly different, I might have to trim it, but I'm pretty sure we can work with that. So first mission is going to be to find correct screwdriver for that. I don't want those to look gnarled up or like they've been at before, and then I've got to carefully get these off. I'm hoping that they just kind of pop off, but we'll see. I'll investigate and update when I work out how to do it. Screws came out easy enough. Used a Phillips 1 head for that. So next I'm going to work out how to pop the actual the moving bit off, and then we've got the pins to transfer as well where it rests. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, that was a little bit sketchy, but I managed to get it off okay. Had a little cap, took that cap off, I rotated it so it was pointing up, and then I used the tool to kind of until I could pull it enough, and that's all it is. It's a interference fit. I've wound it up. Hopefully it will zero itself. I did want to try and mark it, but the actual shaft for the stepper motor is so tiny, or whatever it is, I couldn't do that, so let's hope for the best. Cool beans, got them all off. The outer two I needed to pop the cap off, but the middle two I didn't. The middle two, yeah, I put them to 12 o'clock and then got in either side, doosh, doosh, and it was a bit nerve-wracking. You think they're about to snap and then they pop off. This one also off. So now I've got to get this off, which I think should just come off now. It might be a bit stuck, and I need to work out how to transfer these pegs, but I'm guessing there's some screws on the other side, so we'll see in a sec. Okay, so the pegs look straightforward enough. Where I'm pointing I can't actually see on the screen, but just looks like a little clip to squeeze and push through, and then put them onto the new ones and put it all back together. Cool, they all came out with no dramas. I used tweezers to kind of squeeze it from this side, and then my hand on the other side just to pull it and pop it out, and they all came out with no breakages. So time to put them into the new one of these, and then start to reassemble. Okay, all back on, fits pretty well. Posts just clip back in. I'm going to put the screws in now before I put the arms on, and I'm going to start. It feels a little bit baggy, so I'm going to start in the middle and then work my way out and try and push that excess out a bit. But other than that, all looking good. I'm happy so far. Okay, all back in. I did have to kind of expand the inner bits there to try and iron out the kink. It's all screwed down okay. The middle dials are all fit within their holes. These ones are a little bit tight, but I think it should be fine. One thing I'm not too keen on is these are all really loose. So I think what I'm going to do is pop them back out, and then put a tiny bit of glue on and then let it dry upright, because they're just going to rattle and that's going to do my head in. So I'm going to fix that before we go any further. Then it's a case of getting the sweepers, getting the dials back on and reassembling. So yeah, all going well, not even lunchtime yet. Right, can't find any super glue, so I'm going to take it apart and then put a blob of hot glue on from the back to hold it in situ. I think that'll be better anyway. Hot glue is a lot more removable than super glue should I need to take them back out. And while I've got it off again, I'm just going to clearance that little bit, that little bit, that little bit, that little bit, because I feel like that wants to sit a bit more flush. So test fit okay. Let's rebuild in a sec. Okay, take two. I just put, sorry, try not to shadow it out, tiny little blob of hot glue on the back of each of those posts. They're now not rattling around. I also used some nail scissors to very carefully trim the vertical bits there and there. You can't actually see them when the dial's on, so it's alright. And I also expanded those a little bit more to help with that. So I'm now going to refit again, and hopefully this will be the last time. Right, that fits a lot better. I'm glad I took the time to do that. A little bit of bag there, but I think once that's clamping it back down again, it'll be fine. So just going to go over and try and dust and get rid of anything which I don't want to be sealed in there forever, like that bit of cobweb or whatever I've gained there. And also have a look to see it. I think the inside looks pretty clean, to be honest. I think that is on the outside, so I think we'll get it all sealed up and then have another look at that. Cool. Right, sweepers back on. This one was a little tricky. I'm a bit worried that I've got it clocked wrong behind, but I guess we'll see. They're all kind of going to rest where they are, so I think that's good. So yeah, I'm going to get the cover back on. Cleanliness, don't want to trap anything in there, and then we'll have another go at cleaning the outside of it before reassembling. Okay, all back together, as clean and as shiny as I can be bothered to get it. Just need to put the big metal clamp back on, and then we can get back to the car and start putting it back in, same way that we took it out. Okay, so I put it back together once and the fuel gauge went all the way up and I couldn't quite shake it back down, so I've taken it apart again to kind of zero them. I think what I'm going to do before I put the shell back on is plug it in and test it and just make sure that nothing shoots up, because now's the time to fix that rather than having to take it all apart again. So let's jump to the drive and plug this into the car and cross our fingers and hope for the best. Okay, they all need fixing. Okay, so they all need fixing. In hindsight, and I reckon if you were doing this, maybe plug it all in and then put the dials on where they're at their zeros. That might be the easiest way to do it. I've now got to pop these off and try and do that. So luckily I did get a photo. I referred back to some footage from earlier this morning, so I know where the fuel needs to be approximately. Coolant should be 0, the others should be resting on the posts. So I guess those motors have like a resting point where once they're energized, that's where they're at 0, and we're clearly not at that. So hopefully I can fix it. I really don't want to scratch the background, so yeah, hopefully they'll just pop out and all will be okay. Okay, we're back in the car. First thing I'm going to do is reattach the fascia. That has a couple of Phillips to do from behind. Then I'm going to redo the harness and then assemble it the opposite way I took it apart. I think the only difference I'm going to do is use a bar, use a bar and a 10mm to do the ones which are a bit hard to reach back there. So yeah, if I come across anything that's worth letting you know about, I'll let you know. Other than that, I will head on with the reassembly in the same or the opposite way to how I took it apart. Okay, got the 4 10mm bolts in. I kind of got them all located and then did them up tight, starting at the back with that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Now I'm going to do these screws and then get the stalks on, and then once the stalks are back in, I can get in with the screwdriver and get that hard to reach Phillips. Okay, we're all back together. In hindsight, I don't think I needed to do those awkward Phillips. I think you can get away with getting the stalks out without undoing those. So I'd pursue that before getting to those ones, because that one in particular is quite tricky to get back in. Other than that, very happy. Just going to lock the house, go for a quick spin, make sure everything's reading as it should. I'll put GPS speed and real dash on my phone just so that I can check RPMs and speed and stuff like that. So I will report back in a bit. Okay, so unfortunately the rev gauge isn't working. I've already given it some blats, but take my word for it, nothing, that ain't right. So I'm not sure what's happened there. I'm assuming fuel's good, don't know on speed yet. I'm going to get it to temp and then I'll know on temperature, so I'm still going to go for a test lap. I will compare it to some GPS speed just to make sure that that dial's all working okay, but if not, I'll have to redo that one. I guess I'll have to do the needle while it's running, and I know the RPM from the ECU master or something like that. I probably won't be doing that today nor in this video, but I think that's how I'm going to fix it anyway. Anyway, I'm going to go for a spin and I'll report back in a bit. Okay, part successful. Speed works flawlessly, that matches the GPS. It sweeps, it does everything it should. Fuel, I'm assuming is all good, that hasn't changed. That is roughly how much fuel was in there from when I took a picture of the old gauge beforehand. Coolant is slightly out. We are at operating temperature which is about 85 degrees, and that should be sitting at horizontal at 3 o'clock, but it's slightly out. Revs, I don't know what's going on, it's trying, but we're idling now at about 850, and so it's slightly out, and then it kind of jumps. So I'm wondering whether the pin on the motor is slightly unmeshed and it's not spinning how it should. I'm not going to do anything about it today. I'm not planning on driving the car this week. So I think what I'll do next weekend is get it up to temperature, take it all apart, and then put these two dials on with the engine idling at a known idle and a known temperature. We'll get it to 80 and then I'll attach it over there, similar to how I did the fuel. So yeah, somewhat successful, but I'm gonna have to come back to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm planning to do a bit of a lowdown on all the bits for the manual swap, because that is all in my possession now. So that was meant to happen last summer, but I didn't get the gearbox till about October, and then I realised there's quite a few other bits which I need to go towards that, and I think I've got everything now. So I'm going to do a bit of a lowdown on the gearbox and how I'm going to do the pedal and the shifter and the handbrake and all that jazz, probably in a couple of weeks time. So and that'll be number 40 then as well. Cool. Well, if you haven't done already, please give us a like, subscribe. There will be more videos coming real soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.